Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are completely demystifying how AI actually translates into real, tangible money. We're cutting entirely through the hype, skipping the buzzwords, and looking directly at the underlying mechanics of value creation. If you've been wondering how this technology shifts from just being a fascinating tool to an actual revenue generator for individuals and businesses, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get right into it. We really have to start by hooking into this one core question. Why do people actually open their wallets for AI? There's this pervasive myth out there, right? That AI is some sort of magical cash machine. People think that simply integrating a model into your workflow or just slapping the word AI onto a product is going to guarantee a flood of income. But that fundamentally misunderstands how money changes hands in the real world. So people often think of AI as this magical cash machine. But in reality, it's much more like a water pump. Think about it for a second. Nobody praises a water pump just because its internal gears spin nicely or because it uses the latest pumping technology. They literally only care about one thing. It moves water from where it's not needed to where it is useful. It moves work from a painful state to a useful state. AI works the exact same way. The technology is totally secondary. The outcome is what's primary. Okay, let's take a really quick look at our roadmap. We'll start with the real logic of AI, unpack the 4 revenue levers, split the paths between direct and indirect earning, ground all of this in a real-world case study, explore why value demands actual ownership, and finally end with the ultimate formula: change, pay, and repeat. Starting with Section 1, the real logic of AI, outcomes over technology. Here is the absolute core truth you've got to accept. AI is basically like a highly skilled assistant, and people do not pay for AI, they pay for outcomes. Let's say a customer support team uses AI to answer queries in 10 seconds instead of 10 minutes. That customer isn't buying AI replies, right? They're buying faster support, the feeling of being taken care of, and a way happier experience. Meanwhile, the business is buying fewer support staff hours and way more resolved issues. That outcome, that is why the wallet actually opens. Moving to Section 2, the 4 revenue levers, the hidden machinery. Now that we understand outcomes, we need to look at the hidden machinery behind the money. We call these the 4 revenue levers. AI actually earns money when it changes the economics of a task across one of these specific dimensions: cost, speed, quality, or scale. That's the money logic right there. It is not about the model, it's not about the app, it is purely about changing the flow of work. So here's where the theory actually becomes practice. When AI pulls the cost lever, less time or labor is used, which makes the exact same result cheaper. When it pulls speed, work finishes faster, and customers absolutely love waiting less. Quality means fewer mistakes, which reduces your operational risk and builds immense trust. And then there's scale, which is honestly perhaps the most powerful, meaning more work is handled without your headcount growing. Real businesses pay for combinations of these changes. A tool that saves time but produces sloppy work? Completely useless. Revenue flows when enough of the system improves that the business genuinely feels the difference. To put that into perspective, just imagine a busy restaurant kitchen. If one knife is sharper, your prep is faster. If the oven is more reliable, your food quality improves. If the layout is smarter, fewer steps are wasted. AI is doing exactly this to modern knowledge work. It's simply a force that changes the flow of work in your kitchen, making the whole shebang faster, cheaper, and higher quality. Section 3, direct versus indirect earning, the fork in the road. Now that we've got a handle on the economics, let's look at the 2 distinct paths where the money actually shows up. In direct earning, AI literally is the product. You're selling a chatbot service, an AI writing tool, a design assistant. The customer is paying specifically for that AI capability. But then we have indirect earning. This one is quieter, but often massively more powerful. This is when AI is used behind the scenes to improve an existing workflow. Think about lowering your own internal support costs, qualifying sales leads way faster, or catching operational mistakes early. In the indirect path, AI isn't the product. It's the hidden leverage that makes your actual product vastly more profitable. And this brings us to a really vital concept, especially for all the solo workers and freelancers tuning into this explainer. Look, a carpenter is still a carpenter, whether their toolbox is from 1950 or 2024. The modern tools don't replace the carpenter's expertise, they amplify it. They let them finish more jobs, take on harder work, and deliver much higher quality. AI is that modern toolbox. It doesn't replace your human judgment or your domain knowledge, it amplifies it, so you can serve more clients and confidently charge a premium. Section 4. Real-world case studies. Operational leverage in action. Let's walk through this real-world, small export business case study step by step. Step 1. Historically, their teams spend endless hours manually answering the exact same routine inquiries from abroad. Questions about shipping, pricing, specs. Step 2. They implement AI to handle these initial, repetitive replies. And it does so instantly and consistently. Then step 3, and this is the money step. The staff is now entirely freed up to focus on closing deals with serious buyers. The company didn't sell an AI product, but the AI improved the business enough to support more sales and lower operating costs. That is operational leverage in a nutshell. That is where the revenue actually appears. Section 5, value requires actual ownership. Creating versus capturing. Here is where so many people make a critical mistake. We need to clearly separate creating value from capturing revenue. You could build a system that saves millions of people 5 minutes a day. But if you have no mechanism to charge for it, that value exists completely without becoming income. Actually, think of it like fixing the plumbing in an apartment building. The repair saves water, prevents damage, so that creates value. But revenue only appears if you actually own the building and get to keep the savings from the lower water bill. You have to own the improvement. A huge part of capturing value is understanding pain intensity. Imagine a leaking tap. It's annoying, sure, but it's pretty cheap to just ignore it, right? Now imagine a burst pipe. That is an absolute flooded living room disaster. Both are water problems, but only one makes you frantically hand over your credit card. Your buyer only pays when the pain, whether that's financial, operational, or emotional, is expensive enough to warrant a solution. If your AI just fixes a leaking tap, you won't capture much revenue. You've got to find the burst pipes. So who actually benefits and who gets to charge? It's usually one of 4 entities. First, a business selling the AI result directly to consumers. Second, a company using it internally to aggressively reduce their own costs. Third, a service provider, like our carpenter from earlier, charging for highly efficient AI-assisted work. Or fourth, a platform charging for access to an AI-powered capability that makes their software stickier. These are the specific roles that actually get to keep the captured revenue. Section 6, change, pay, and repeat, the future system. Consider this printing press analogy from our sources. Before printing, if you wanted to copy a book, you had to write it entirely by hand. Growth was strictly linear. If you wanted more books, you literally had to hire more monks with hand cramps. But with the printing press, one single setup of effort could produce massive scalable output. AI works the exact same way. It totally breaks the old rule where getting more customers meant constantly hiring more people. It turns one single unit of workflow effort into massive scalable output. So here is the ultimate blueprint I want you to take away from this explainer today. Step 1, change gives you value. When AI changes the economics of a task, value is created. Step 2, pay gives you revenue. When you solve a burst pipe problem and capture that value, you get paid. Step 3, repeat gives you scale. When you can reuse that workflow infinitely, just like a printing press, you build massive margins. Change, pay, and repeat. That is the absolute blueprint. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to take back to your own workflows. Take a really hard look at your strategy today and ask yourself, is your business selling the AI or is the AI selling your business? Because once you figure out which side of that equation you're really on, you'll know exactly where the money is hiding. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.